Hello, I'm Professor Smalley, and this video is to help guide you through how my Math 2415 Cal 3 online course is going to work during the summer of 2018. And so let's take a look. All our content is now, everything's in D2L, which has changed names. It's going to be hard for me to forget to use D2L, but so I'm going to show you a couple ways you can get into it through My Lone Star. But sometimes if My Lone Star itself isn't working, it's kind of a backdoor way that even if you can't access some of the features in My Lone Star, you can still get to your online class. And at the Lone Star home menu, right up here at the top is LSC Online. So I'm going to take that route. And then here's class login. And then right down here below, alternate login. Go back to, now it's now called, daylight, I don't know, light bright, night fright, whatever. It has a new name. If you're, it changed in early June, so it's going to look a little different than it did if you, let's say you've taken you took spring classes in the Lone Star system and you haven't taken any, or at least if you, maybe you took a course and if you didn't need D2L, maybe it was a face-to-face class. But anyway, if you've been, this will be new to you, even since the spring, if you've not seen it yet. So it's not too bad. I figured, I'm semi-old and I could figure out my way through it, so it wasn't too complicated. Now this menu is going to look a little different. One thing I haven't learned yet is how to choose student, how to pick student mode to show what it looks like from your perspective. It was real easy in the other one, but I'm just not sure how to do it. But anyway, they all look like these pretty little windows. So this, this is showing all the classes I'm teaching. Obviously, from your point of view, it's just going to show what you are taking. So that's probably the only window you're going to have here. Now, the main things here are content, grades, course activities. Now, content, I have different folders. This first one is for labeled syllabus, textbook, other items. That's sort of like my sort of dumping ground for random files that aren't specifically organized. So we have all these the table of contents, different ones, but this first, syllabus and kind of my dumping ground general files, every other folder has a specific, name, purpose on it. So if anything you're not sure where I might have put some file, this would be that doesn't automatically have a location that would be easy to find. Try checking this one. All right, I got the syllabus already uploaded here, but just to kind of show you, or downloaded, or whatever the word you uploaded, and then downloaded it also on the screen. But I just want to show you this real quick, that anytime you want to view a file that's in this window, just click download, and that will bring it up as a PDF file, which I already actually had it loaded right here, but there it is right there. But I had it ready to go right here. So what I'm going to do is go through the syllabus right now. Sometimes I alternate between D2L and the syllabus. But I think I'll just run through the syllabus real quick, then go show you all the features in D2L. I'll try doing it that way this time, see how that goes. Alrighty, first page, blah, 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 blah. And, alright. Let's get to the good stuff here. Course materials. This is the official book we are now using. Universal Calculus, Early Transcendentals, 3rd edition. you do not have to use that book. If you are using any book, that is fine. The assignments, nothing is specifically related to a book. It's in D2L. So that way everybody would have same access to the same questions. You don't have to have the book. Now what I've done here is, even though there's no requirement for this, some of you may be already using this particular book, and I have a MyMathLab code for that book. Also, if you're using any other kind of Pearson type book that had a MyMathLab, say like Thomas Calculus, Thomas here, the same Thomas has his own book, Thomas Calculus. As long as that book's still in existence, I can create a MyMathLab code for you. No assignments or anything, but I can create a code that will allow you access to the content. But any book is fine, and in fact, I'm going to show you when I get to D2L that I actually have a PDF file of a book that you're welcome to use. So you don't have to buy this if you don't want to. Like I said, if you have this book or another Pearson book, I'd be happy to get you set up where you can use the resources. Calculator for this course, I don't know if 92s even exist, but I do have policy, and I may add others to this list, but with no TI-89s or Inspire CAS that can do the algebra stuff. For example, Inspire, just regular CX without the CAS is fine. TI-84 is fine. They even make that 84 CE, I believe it's called. That's fine. If you're not sure, just send me a message and I'll be happy to answer that for you. Now, videos, I'll be producing. I have some videos done, but I'll get busy here soon and start working up some videos for the beginning part of the course that I don't already have, and I'll just announce whenever those are done. But also, Khan Academy is a good source, and you may find videos there you like better than mine. It's not going to hurt my feelings or anything. But I'll just keep you posted on those videos, and I'll show you that when we get to when I go over to the D2L/Daylight. The book that I have the PDF file, which my notes are based off, is a Larson book, and there's a website called calcchat.com that it's like having a printed solutions manual where you could look, if you were practicing and you were looking at an odd number problem, you could sort of see, how they solved it. They don't always show every step, but it's certainly better than just having the textbook and just looking up the answer. You can at least see some sort of work there. But that's strictly an optional thing, because the homework's not going to be collected or graded, so you're not required to turn anything in. Of course, obviously it's good to be able to practice a little bit. I realize this is kind of a short term, so I couldn't expect you to be able to keep up with all those homework problems, but it's something you're struggling with, a little extra practice wouldn't hurt. And that leads into these things called quizzes. Now, these quizzes really are almost more like homework than they are quizzes when you see how they operate. I've often debated on changing the name to, like, instead of quiz 1, call it homework 1 or something. Because the reason for that is that the problems are PDF files provided for you in advance. So like I was saying, they don't come from a specific textbook that you'd have to have. The file is posted in the Daylight there, and that's where you would have access to the questions. So you have the questions in advance, and then you will go into D2L Daylight before the deadline, and you'll submit your answers. And I'll show you that here when I go back over there. Well, anyway, so you have 8 of these. 3 of those are dropped, and the best 5 are kept, and to be averaged to form a quiz grade. So technically, you don't have to have 100 average, but if you had, for example, 5 100s out of those 8, your quiz grade is going to be 100. Now, one thing I mentioned here, and I'll show you, is just be real careful that I don't know why it does this. I don't do this intentionally, but the D2L may reorder the answer choices on those quizzes, meaning that it's not going to change the value of the problems. So if you've worked out some problem and you know that pi over 2 is the correct answer, and let's say on the printed quiz it was answer A, but on the online D2L part where you have to submit your answers, maybe the third choice, C, was pi over 2. Well, if you know the answer is pi over 2, then you pick pi over 2 no matter where it's located. So there's, these quizzes all have 10 problems each. I allow you an hour to enter your answers, which actually it won't take you 5 minutes, but I do that just so you can't say I put too much pressure on you to have to rush through and mismark your answers. So there's no excuse not to be careful. So in other words, yeah, so when you take a paper quiz there and you have your answers and just say hypothetically the first 5 were all A's and the second 5 were all B's, don't assume that will be the exact same order when you submit them to the quiz. The questions will be in the same order, but the answer choices may not be. So watch for that. Now for this course, unlike my previous Cal 1 and Cal 2, for any of you had me before, this will be a little bit different. Is exam 1 is also going to be take home. And it's going to work like the quizzes. The PDF file, actually I'm giving you this one in advance also. Maybe I'll change that in the future, but that's what I'm doing for now. So you'll have the questions, you work them out, and you then do the same thing. You'll submit your answers. However, exam 2, exam 3, and the final exam will be taken in some sort of proctored testing environment. And that's going to consist of, which I'll talk more, but they'll be sent automatically to every Lone Star College testing center, every one of them. So you don't have to be, hey, you might see that, hey, you're talking to me that I'm based out of University Park. Do I have to go there? Absolutely not. They'll be at Conroe, they'll be at Kingwood, they'll be at the Victory Center. Every Lone Star College gets one. The other option, which I'll talk about, will be Proctor U. Well, then there's one other option according to that too. You could use an outside, if you were out of town and you were going to use an outside college, or let's say if University of Texas was going to proctor your exam. I'll try to keep you on your toes here about this and remind you, but there were a couple people last semester that kind of screwed up, weren't paying attention because exam 1 was take home. So all of a sudden they're emailing me you'll see when I get into D2L that these exams 2, 3, and final exam are locked by password. So they're emailing me, say, hey, I don't have the password for this test. Well, that's because they probably didn't watch the video or pay any attention. Yeah, you don't have the password. The proctors will have the password to open up the test. You won't need a password for exam 1. So exam 2 and exam 3, you're allowed to use a 8.5 by 11 sheet of notes with one side only. Write whatever you want on there. Final exam, you can use both sides. So you can write formulas, examples. It just needs to fit in that space requirement. It doesn't matter what's there. You can copy and paste some of the formulas that I already have for you, and copy and paste them, write by hand, whatever you want to do. Now let's see how we get a grade for this course. I always put this little part right here, but it never surprises me whenever I'll get an email at the end of a course in any semester. Is there anything I can do for extra credit? The answer is no. And there it is. But my success rate's usually pretty high, so I mean there should be no need for extra credit. That means you got to kind of get after it and learn the material. Well, anyway, there's 2 options. Now you don't have to declare hey, I want option this. They'll both be calculated. Your grade will be the higher of the 2, so it's not like you have to tell me which one it is. Most people, it's going to be option 1 because it's the better one. But just in case something went wrong, the other option is there. Let's say you weren't doing any of the quizzes, or doing them and just did poorly on the quizzes, or you didn't submit exam 1 or something like that. You'd have to go with this option on the right. Well, let's look how this works. And this exam 1 has a lower weighting than the other exams because it's the one that's going to have the questions in advance. If I was making you take it in real time, even at home, then I probably would change that and make it a higher percentage. But you do have the questions in advance. So the quiz grade, which I've already explained, and obviously you can email me if you have more questions. So let's say exam 1, you make a 96, and your quiz average was, we'll say 100. So together they work equally weighted. So together they would form. They are separate, but together you can think of them as being, if one was 96 and one was 100, that means 1/3 of your grade would be 98. But essentially that's fine. But they have to both be done. You have to submit exam 1 and you have to submit the quizzes. Exam 1 by itself does not count. So if somebody messed this up, you'd have to go. You really want, obviously, you want this first option to be your option. That means 1/3 of your grade will be easier strictly because it's take-home material. And then on the live exams, the grader of either exam 2 or exam 3 counts. So one of those two can be dropped. And then the 1/3, and then the final counts, and it's 1/3. It cannot be dropped. Now, I'll mention this, but I'm sure somebody will still probably ask me because they may not remember. Although in the short term, you may remember this video a little better than you would in a 16-week course. But I often get questions, and whether it's Cal 1 or Cal 2, anytime that the lowest exam being dropped or whatever, like let's use exam 3. Now, exam 3 is still important because some of that material is going to be on the final. It's probably the more challenging material, so I'm not encouraging you not to take it, but I'm saying hypothetically they'll email me and go, hey, I'm doing good here. I did great here. Do I have to take exam 3 for it to be dropped? In other words, maybe they've been in classes before. I don't know why, but you couldn't just drop it by not taking it. You still have to take it. Well, that's not true here. For example, I'll just say, suppose you had hundreds all the way along. Let's just go for the moon here, hundreds, and just go, hey, do I have to actually show up and take exam 3? No, because theoretically, if you took exam 3 and made an 80, or you didn't take it and made a 0, it's dropped either way. So it's dropped. It doesn't have to be taken to be dropped. So sometimes that'll confuse the occasional student. So no, you would just not take it and you'd get a 0 on it, and then it would be dropped. Alrighty, so let's come down here. Where do I start? Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Okay, I'll let you read through that. Now, when I go to D2L, I'll show you this a little bit later, but these are the exam deadlines. Now, of course, exam 1 is submitted online, but still the deadline. Now, if you're taking exams at the Lone Star Testing Center, or technically at another testing center, maybe like UT or A&M or something, these are deadline dates. You can take things earlier than that. Because I've had people, I can't remember if somebody for this class has already asked me this, but I will get students, I think somebody from my Cal 2 that I also have going on right now, can they accelerate the course and finish a little bit early, and possibly, it's tough to, it's not that easy to do. I'm not trying to, encourage that, but if you needed to, you could. You can do things a little bit ahead, and finish a little bit early if you'd like. Now, with one exception, that's if you're doing, well, that's no exception if you're doing Lone Star. If you're using Proctor U, I'm not totally sure about its security and could people retain information to share with others. Well, I know the Lone Star College Testing Center, you go in there, you take the center test, you submit it electronically, and that's it. And they collect your scratch paper. But if you're using Proctor U, though, you will have to take it on that deadline, unless I say otherwise. So those will be the deadline dates. But if you're doing it, well, not for exam 1, of course, only for 2, 3, and the final. Everybody's got take-home exam 1. So the Proctor U will have to be on those dates. But if you want to do earlier in the Lone Star College Testing Centers or University Testing Center, no problem. All right, I see a mistake here. I'll just mention this verbally. This must have been copied from either exam Cal 2 or Cal 1, where exam 1 isn't take-home. All right, just make a mental note here. I'll fix this in the syllabus, but now you'll hear it in the video. This is not correct. I can't highlight the 1. There it is. Exam 1 is take-home. It's not Proctor Testing Center. Only exam 2, exam 3, and the final. Okay, so that's a mistake for this class, because I can see you reading that and immediately asking me questions about it. And here's just a bunch of other, blah, blah, blah stuff here. Now we will head over to the daylight, D2L, daylight, night fright, whatever it is, and let me show you what's going on over there. And here we are, back at the D2L daylight homepage. Might look a little different from your point of view. Still trying. Oh, there is the view of student. I found it. Okay. Pretty excited. But I might be changing it back and forth in case I need to show you something. Anyway, so it still looks kind of the same, but all right. So I'm clicking on content. Nothing's out. Here we go. Let's take a look. Let me run through this folder of stuff here, and like I said, you just can go through and peruse it at your, leisure. Although obviously, we don't have a lot of leisure time in such a short class, but list of problems for the final exam. Obviously, don't worry about that just yet. I don't do this for every exam. I do it for the final. Now, I have reviews for each of the exams, but this is literally a list of course, it doesn't mean much to you now, but the types of problems that are on the exam and then what section they come from in that Larson PDF book, which you don't have to use. So the final is going to be 25 questions. The exams are all multiple choice, by the way. I do adjust the grading scale a little bit, so it's not just the raw score. Sort of like a built-in adjustment for everybody. And there's 20 problems on each of the first 3 exams and then 25 on the final. Now here's the link for this video right here. So, although that's the old video, I just hadn't replaced it with a new link yet, but because obviously I'm making it right now. And down here, I'll go back up in a minute. I mentioned that I had a PDF file for another book. It's right here in the other resources. That's the name of it. It'll sit right there at the bottom. Other resources. That is the link to that Larson textbook. I believe that's the 10th edition. Maybe it's the 9th. 9th edition. There it is. Obviously, you can download that. It'll be kind of a large file, but obviously, it's not that humongous. But you can download that, so you don't have to come into here to look at it every time. So there's where that little file is hiding. So let's just kind of see what's going on here. And there's just this is just suggested practice problems for the night. Once again, not mandatory. They do group off by you see what exam sections are going to be on what exam. I didn't add some practice. I've added some new sections in there I don't have practice problems for, but I wouldn't worry about it. because the problems I do in my notes are going to be exactly the ones that are on the final. Well, not same numbers, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'll talk about that when I make the actual video for that those sections. Formulas, and because I'm doing things differently than I used to these last couple semesters, where I'm allowing students to make their own sheets. So I need to add. I'm gonna go back in here and add something though where it says not provided, for on the exam. But obviously you can use these formulas, like I said, either by writing them down or cutting and pasting, or I'm just not providing these sheets. But let me just kind of bring this up, show this to you. And then there's just a bunch of formulas that we'll use. So like I said, you can cut and paste those and scale them down to make your sheet, or write them, or whatever you want to do. And also this Trig Cheat, I don't know how much, I wouldn't worry about everything on here either, but oftentimes the basic unit circle is important. Let's see what else. D2L quiz entry. I'll go back and show you where these quizzes are. I was just going to open that up myself there, but there's, oh yeah, see, it's okay. I kind of created this one myself, so that's good to have. Yeah, now here's one where it did not scramble the answers, but there's kind of how it would look like when you go into the D2L. That one did not scramble them. So all these files are going to be sitting there for you to look at whenever it's convenient for you. And I'll come back to some of this. Okay, yeah, there's a Trig Cheat. I don't know what this D2L resources is for student or whatever. Testing center info, I'm not sure how accurate this is. Okay, takes you, I guess that's pretty good. Takes you to the testing center page. Speaking of which, that's important. So you go to that page, let's say you're using Lone Star College Testing Center. You need to verify what hours they are open the day that you're going to go. That's your responsibility. I've had people in prior classes miss class, and they'll say, well, I was used to going, on Thursday, but I had to go Friday. I didn't know they wouldn't be open as late on a Friday. That's not a very good excuse. Yeah, obviously testing centers will tend to be open longer during the week than they would on a Friday or Saturday. So you verify the hours for the day that you're going to go. I always allow plenty of time for these tests, usually about 4 hours. But I've never had a student have a problem not having enough time. But anyway, my point being is, well, they won't let you take a test if you get there within an hour of closing. But I don't think you need the full 4 hours. But obviously, you're entitled to it. You're allowed if you want to. But I'd get there at least a couple hours before closing, so you have enough time, maybe a little more for the final. All right, so I'll talk about Proctor U here in a minute too. So what do we got over here? We got notes and some videos. All right, so I have lecture notes for all these sections. And you see that's, well, I showed you on that homework page how it groups them off by exam. So if you're wondering, hey, what exactly does exam 1 cover or exam 2 covers? They're labeled. Each folder's labeled. So if it's not in the folder, it's not on that exam. Now we do have some content here. This is from chapter 15 in the Larson book. That's some sections that are between exam 3 and the final. There's like 3 or 4 problems on the final 4, so maybe that come from that material, but they're not on exam 3. So that's why it's its own separate file folder after the exam 3. So if you want to know what was going to be in exam 2, you open this up and it's all those folders, files, notes right in there. So like say you want to click on notes, and here's, so open it right up, and There we go. Of course, you can download it like I was showing you to get it out of this format. And let's see. So we've got notes. And I'll be making videos, lecture videos that go along with those notes. I have some already, but I don't for these beginning sections, but I'll start working on them real soon. So I can try to stay ahead of you a little bit, unless you're working really fast. We'll see which, I think I have the ones for the chapter 14, which is the harder stuff, ironically. The multiple integration, I already have the videos for that. A lot of the stuff at the beginning is kind of easy, but I'm still going to do videos anyway. So I have lecture, okay, I need to get rid of these. These are somebody else's videos that I borrowed, and I'm going to start using my own, so I need to delete all that. But I'll start putting my own in there. In fact, yeah, I'll get rid of that. Because my videos, which I may move this folder down here where it says, well, I have videos in another place too, but where it says Smalley's videos right here. These were some I'd borrowed from a friend, but you know, it's time for me to start making my own. So those are the ones, this is exam 3. I don't have the other ones in there. You see they're blank. So I'm going to get rid of those videos and only have my ones in there. So I have notes. I will have a complete set of videos. I have exam reviews. And I thought that I had videos for these reviews. I thought I did, maybe I didn't, but I can work on that too. I thought I had them. Well, anyway, so you have the sample problems, so it gives you the actual problems, and then I work them out in a different file. So these are the actual, so the first one you can attempt it yourself if you want to, and you can check the answer at the bottom of the page. But here's just me showing the actual work. All right, so yeah, I'll look around. I swear I thought I had videos made for these reviews. I know I do in Cal 1 and Cal 2. Maybe I'm just confusing myself, or maybe they're hiding in here somewhere. Let's see, a couple more things to look at, and then we're basically done. So there's the reviews. We did that. Okay. Quizzes in exam 1, my videos. I'll move that up. Well, I can't move. Oh yeah, I'm in student mode. I can't edit anything right now, so I'll fix that later. Quizzes in exam 1. These are the PDF files. So there's exam 1. I'll show you what that is a take-home one, but I'll bring up a quiz just to show you. So what you do is you go to this PDF file, tells you what section's there, and you work all these out. And don't do anything until make sure you have all of them done. This isn't quite like a My Math Lab deal where you can kind of, go in and out of the program, so you don't go into your actual quiz, submit a few answers, come back, go back again. Now, once you open that quiz, the actual real quiz, the clock is ticking, and you have an hour, and that's it. So, so don't make that mistake. So just make sure you work these out. Same thing with exam 1 till you're ready. Let me go over here and we'll go to quizzes down here. Now you see this quiz list. They all have they all have due dates. Meaning, and this program, maybe other ones work differently, but this learning resource program, this time deadline of 11 p.m. means you have to open it by 11 p.m. and you'll still get your full hour. So if you open it at 10:45, you'd still be in there till 11:45. You have to make sure it's open. It doesn't mean it's going to kick you out at 11 p.m. So I remained consistent in these quizzes. So I think it's also in the D2L calendar will show these due dates. So you got to pay attention to these due dates. Now the exam times are a little different. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the quizzes are all 11 p.m. Yes, one of the quizzes I even have due the day after the final. That would give you one more day if you needed to do it, finish that quiz up. You could do it if you needed to help your grade a little bit. You could do it. If you didn't need to, you wouldn't have to. But that one has some stuff that's on the final. It's probably good to practice on it even if you don't submit it. So I'll just kind of click on one. So here's what you do. Start quiz. Obviously this is just me, so it doesn't matter. In other words, I don't care what kind of grade I'm going to get on this. But you don't do this till you're ready to take this seriously. And like I said, watch for scrambled answers. I'm just going to randomly start. I don't think you have to save each one. You can save it if you want to. I'm just going to start picking random letters here. So needless to say, I don't expect to do very well. This is not the way you're going to do it. You're going to submit the answers that you've already worked out. And you see the timer right there, 1 hour. So he's showing you. So yeah, you have an hour to do this. So there's really no excuse to, if the answers kind of change positions on you, you have more than enough time to sort through that carefully. Not like I put you on a 2-minute timer to enter these. I'm just doing this obviously just to show you how to submit it. All right. All right. So I'm going to go to, so I'll save all responses. I guess that's to do that. You can save them individually or save them. I'll go to submit quiz. All right, so you confirm you're going to submit it. Let's see what happens. And well, it would show my grade. Well, actually, though, you won't see. I'm going to change the date. Yeah, you won't see those pop up immediately like this, but it should show you your score. Yeah, I have to go change that because I always make these quizzes viewable like about an hour after that deadline. So pretend like you won't have this, immediately when you see it. Let's just kind of scroll down real quick. And I figured it would show me my grade. Hey, there we go. So pure guessing, I made a terrific 20 there. Oh well. Hey, there I am. I'm a 20. Okay, let's go back to, so that's how you do it then. You go through there and submit it, and then that's it. Now, viewing your quiz is a little bit trickier because, and I have that's where it has that explained in that file. You'd think you would just go back. So the deadline, I mean, they're not viewable until an hour after the deadline. Even if you submit it 3 days in advance, you'll see the grade, but you won't see which ones you missed. Let me go back to this page right here. And quiz entry. No, I'm sorry, reviewing quiz and exam submissions. So once you've reached that, once again, you reach that deadline, because it seems like you would just be able to go back in there and click on that quiz, and you would think, hey, just click on the blue quiz thing again, that'll do it. Now, that's only for submitting the quiz. To actually view it, you have to click on this drop-down arrow next to it, and then it takes you to submissions. And then you click on that, and then it will bring up all the answers. So then you can see which one you missed. So it's a little tricky because it looks like you would just go right back to where you were, and it seems logical, but that's not quite right. Let's see if I can demonstrate that properly here. Actually, well, okay, it's just summarizing that I've done it. So let's go back. I'm not quite used to looking at it from the student perspective. Okay, so let me click submit. Okay, so yeah, there it was. Yeah, so you click submissions, and then there you click on that attempt, and that will bring up all the problems. All right, I should be done basically now. Let's see. Oh, I know one more thing I wanted to mention, and this is only for anyone using Proctor U. Let's see. Let me go back to the course activity. Of course, you can view your grades in there. Okay, I've mentioned about the deadlines. Now, on the exam dates, this only applies to Proctor. No, see, this one doesn't look like I was mentioning this earlier, but look at exam 2, exam 3, and the final exam. They have locks on them. That means because they're password protected. And that's what I'm saying. Yes, exam 1's take home, but there were a couple students that thought I was just supposed to give them the password, and they were doing it. No, it's not. It's not like that. It's either testing center will do it or Proctor U will do it. But I won't worry about exam 1 because that's just take home. But let's look at this one, exam 1. I always send my instructions. Very, very important. Now, of course, testing centers are never going to be open this late. So if you're using like a testing center, like most of you will be, that 11:59 p.m. doesn't mean anything. You have to be able to. That just means it'll be available whenever, that all day, that day. Remember, that's the last day to take it too. Keep that in mind. I've already mentioned that. I haven't actually sent the quizzes to them, so don't go take any tests tomorrow or anything. But give me a day or so to send them to them. But anyway, the idea is you can take them early. But so that doesn't affect you if you're going to a testing center. They'll all be closed well before 11:59 p.m. Proctor U. I make it a requirement. I'll try to remember to announce it as we get closer to, well, just keep this in mind now. You need to make your appointment for no later than 11 p.m., even though that says 11:59. 11 p.m. Because it's a bit of a hassle for them to get their process, to get everything up and running. If you schedule it for like 11:45, they might not be ready to start you by 11:59. I've had problems with that, and sometimes it was a student's mistake, sometimes it was Proctor U. But I'm going to make 11 p.m. your actual deadline, even though that says 11:59. So if you make the appointment by 11, and I'm going to tell them when I send them the form, they must make the appointment by 11 p.m. A little earlier would be good to be safe, because they have to do all kinds of stuff where I think you have to hold your laptop or computer around, where they got to look around the room to make sure everything's that you don't have stuff written all over the walls and things you can use to try to cheat. So it's much more process getting ready for them. So in other words, you have to. I mean, I even messed up the first time I used Proctor U by only making it 30 minutes in advance, and it still caused a problem for people being denied their test. That was my fault. But with an hour, that's not my fault. So just make sure you're logged in. You have your appointment by 11 p.m. and you're logged in by 11 p.m. One time a person didn't take his test because he was late. The test, he might have made the appointment on time, but then, he didn't, get in there till like after 11:30, even though the appointment was at 11, and they were going to try to give him the test, but it was too late. So pay very careful attention to that if you're using Proctor U. Also, if you're using Proctor U, even though I won't be sending the test just yet, but keep in mind so don't make appointments starting tomorrow, because you need to give me another day or so here. But I don't know if it's 2-3 days. But anyway, you need to make an appointment several days in advance, because if you make the appointment too close to the test date, they're going to charge you more. Now, that doesn't apply to the Lone Star testing centers. There's no fee anyway, but it's purely walk-in basis. You don't need an appointment. Yeah, but don't wait till like the day of the test, and then it's going to would cost you a lot of money. At that point, you'd be much better off going to a Lone Star center. But you do. I think it's at least 3 days. But if you go to the website proctoru.com, if you think you're going to be using them, start researching their policies now. So you'll be well aware of that and don't have to pay extra hefty fee because you waited too long to set your appointment. So. All right, let me go back here. And, I didn't mean to go that far back. Well, that's okay. Now it still thinks I'm doing all, yeah. Oh, now it changed it back to took me out of student mode. So I believe that's everything's been covered. So let me know if you, let me just take a look at the content one more time. Yes, some of that's going to change obviously in here. Some of these videos and things are going to be removed. And then I'm going to start adding my own videos. But that being said, I believe we're done. So good luck and work hard and work fast in this short course. But I'm confident you can be successful. People have been before. So, and let me know if you need anything.